then whence cometh evil? Is he neither able nor willing? Then why call him God? The excerpt is called The Consequent Statement of Evil, and we often hear the phrase the problem of evil. What is the problem precisely?
The problem is if God is all powerful and all seeing, then how can God allow any suffering at all?
I would just add another one of God's attributes. So, if God is all powerful, he should be able to prevent any evil from happening. I'm here paraphrasing Epicurus. God's all powerful, he can prevent any evil from happening. If he's all knowing, he should know that evil is going to happen. And if he's omnibenevolent, he shouldn't want any evil to happen. But evil happens. So it appears that either he's not all powerful, all knowing, or omnibenevolent. So we've got a big tension between attributes of God that any Christian would attribute to God and the very fact of evil. And the fact of evil isn't going to be explained away either. So the question is then, how do we resolve that tension?
Half a century apart, both Voltaire and Leibniz wrote seminal but very different works about God and the problem of evil. Leibniz's Theodicy was published in 1710.
It's referred to as the Theodicy, and the English translation, the only English translation, says Theodicy on the cover, but the title of the work is Essays of Theodicy on the Goodness of God, the Freedom of Man, and the Origin of Evil. So the subtitle, I think, pretty much captures it all. What's at issue is whether God can be considered good given that evil exists in the world, whether humans are free, and if so, how their freedom, if at all, relates to sin, and what the origin of evil is. Where does evil come from? It's an old question. It goes back at least as far as Augustine in On Free Choice of the Will. He begins by asking, whence evil? Unde malum? The other thing I would say is it helps to know what theodicy means. That was a word coined by Leibniz. It's now come into common usage generally to mean any response to the problem of evil, but Leibniz had a particular signification for that word, and it's important to bear that in mind just in thinking about Leibniz. So it's a neologism, it's coined from two Greek words, theos, which means God, and dike, which means justice. So, what's at issue for Leibniz in these essays on the goodness of God, the freedom of man, and the origin of evil is ultimately